So welcome. So excited to have you here for the overview of 2022. So this is a vast year. There is a lot of information. So I'm going to try to stick to what would be helpful for you to know. And I'm calling this the coming home to our being year because we have the potential to come home to what is true for us. We've been in a time where we have done what other people have wanted, or maybe we've done what we've wanted and felt like it was a struggle either way. And now we've been called to revisit our values and to really step into the opportunity that is here with this year. So before we get started, I am going to share this quote because I think it's very relevant to the time we're in. Beauty has no boundaries, no rules, no colors. Beauty is like a religion. You can include it. You can include everything inside it. And that's by Alessandro Michel. So yes, this is about beauty, the beauty of being connected to our home, to ourself, to the essence of who we are, bringing in the things we consider beautiful. What we value is what we see as beautiful. And that's the key when we can understand that we, as who we are beautiful, and that our gifts and opportunities and even our challenges are beautiful. And when we come home to that, that means we find the grounding, the rooting of who we are, and we accept the beauty that is available to us. And we see it as beautiful, that we are beautiful, that the things around us that are showing up for us are opportunities of increasing beauty. Then we actually are in a place of freedom, which has a lot to do with this year. Now, last year was a 5 years, so yes, there was a lot about adventure, change, freedom, and we were certainly experiencing that, being unmoored from our old system, because in this year we're moving to establish the roots of a new system. So a little bit about me, in case you don't know who I am. I'm Jen Duchenne, so I am presenting this. And I am an Akashic guide, mentor, creator. I've created the Illuminating journey cards. What I do is help my clients focus on their mission, their purpose, and move out the obstacles so they can truly follow their path to being in beauty, in bliss, in their bodies on earth. We're not leaving the earth to experience spiritual bliss. We need to become more rooted in the earth. So that's part of the work I'm here to do. All right, so let's talk about the key of this year. This idea of coming home is a universal relationships shift. We're moving from an old way of relating to the world, to what we think of as our problems, our fears, and all of those things, into something I'm calling a spiritual immersion. It is like we are being bathed in the elixir of spirituality, what is available to us to expand our spiritual being, to become more immersed in the soul essence of our being, in our desires, in the things that we're here to do and experience. We're not here to be in fear. We're not here to be stopped from following our path. We are here to find the way to get where we're going. And this year is helping us because it's rearranging how we think about relationships. Most of us think about a relationship is like, oh, I want X, somebody's in my way, or somebody's not doing what I want, or the universe isn't meeting me where I am. But what if we shifted to a place of knowing we are home, that we belong, and that we are opening ourselves to receiving all of who we are, or as much of our soul that can enter our body, so we can truly be in that place of magnificence, so that we're acting from a place of knowing as opposed from a place of fear or uh, lack or needing someone to do something for us. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. In fact, that's a beautiful thing to ask for help and to include others. But we definitely want to do it from a place of spiritual certainty, knowing who we are or learning more about who we're becoming as we take this journey, because it's a pilgrimage. And so what happens on a pilgrimage is we immerse ourselves in the beingness of who we are. So when we are doing something, it's coming from that place of who we are being, who we are becoming. So choosing to live your soul values in your physical body. This is super important because so many of us have ideas or ideology about who we're supposed to be, who we want to be, but it's not embodied. And in order for it to be embodied, therefore, we use things like our voice to ask for what we need. We ask for directions. We get more clear. We ask for the time we need to get more clear about what we believe. We ask for ways that we can prove something to ourselves that stops us from thinking in a limiting way. So we want to open the door to limitlessness, to becoming more connected to the foundation of who we are. So we want to dream and discern as acts of being. Those are all action verbs. We have to think about the action we need to take in being who we are, dreaming and discerning to become more of that being here on earth. This is our true calling. The devotional discipline to bring us home is like, I belong here, so what do I need to do? What do I need to create? What do I need to see in order to believe this? So there are 4 numbers in 2022, which is not always the case. Typically, we might have 2 numbers or 3 numbers. In this case, we have 4 numbers because we have this 2 here that is so prevalent. So we have calendar year number 22 because we're looking at the back of the year of the number. We have the universal year number, which is 6, because we're adding 2 plus 2 plus 2, and that gives us 6. We have the root number 4, and that is because we look at the calendar year, and that's 2 plus 2, and that's 4. We also have the number 2 because of all the 2s, and that's the unusual part of this year. So normally we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't be focused on the particular number of the year in this way, because we're looking at 22, we're looking at 6, we're looking at 4, and that's kind of the normal. But we look at the 2 as an extra because it has so much emphasis in this very unusual year. So let's go a little deeper into the numbers. Oops, 22, number 22. 22 is a master number. So whenever we are confronted by a master number, it is telling us we have to master the things we have not mastered. That means we have to become more discerning, more divining, more connected to the thing, in this case of coming home or belonging in our bodies. So what are those things we have to master? Well, 22, of course, the double 2 is about the law of opposites and the continuum, or the way that opposites are really the same thing. They're just different variations of one thing. So one is too little, the other's too much, but it's all the same thing. So finding the equilibrium is part of mastering that relationship, because 2, the number 2, is all about relationships. It's about how we relate to each other, to ourselves, to the life we're in. More of what I talked about. So important that the 2 is a number that when you look at it, it is curved to the one, to perhaps even the past. It is a highly intuitive number, but it is flat on the surface. So it is a number that could be in supplication, in surrender. And that's the thing we have to think about. What are we surrendering to? Who, what, how, etc. 22 is actually the master number of peace. It is called the Buddha number because it helps us remember that peace exists between the two, right? Between the two polarities, fear and love, anger and joy, or whatever those things are, masculine and feminine. It doesn't matter, night and day, where we find our sense of equilibrium, where we find the place to root ourselves and actually to give us the impetus to move forward, to know who we are so we can master what we desire, what we're here to learn or grow or whatever it is we're here to do. This is our opportunity to truly understand the meaning of peace. We don't gain peace by just saying, everyone be quiet so we can have peace. I mean, we can do that, but that doesn't actually give us soul peace. What we're looking for is peace in our bodies, peace in all things. The 22 is the master architect number. That means we design the life we're here to live. And this is key to this time we're in, because we're in this place of turmoil, of chaos, with everything changing and us moving into shaping what has changed. So what do we want going forward? This master number helps us to understand bringing love, bringing peace. These are all actionable items. These are all things we have to take action around, speak up around, learn to listen around. What are all those aspects of the two that we have to master so that we can see what's around us, not try to pretend we don't see what's here. We can choose, which is another 2 word, and embrace or leave behind. So the choice is ours, and that's the power of the 2, that nothing happens without a 2. So let's look at the number 4, the foundational number 4, such a key to this year. The number 4 is like 4 sides. It's a fixed energy. It's something that is about foundation, about establishing a system. Now that we've been in through this chaos, we actually, and we've been given an opportunity, we have to decide what's the foundation, what's the system, what's the process that I am going to focus on and devote time to so I can establish how I'm going to build my home, right? So in a way, we can think about the 3 little pigs, such a great story about how we spend time building what matters to us, what we value. So if we, in a hurry, sometimes we build a house of straw. And if we have the patience to focus on, well, I need this house for a long time. This is the place I live. I want to know I belong. I want to come home to the place that is mine, whether it's a physical place or an emotional place or a spiritual place. It's all part of that same thing. So how do I create it? How do I devote energy and discipline to deliberately laying those bricks to create the foundation? We look at the number 6. 6 is about love. It's about learning from our own teaching. And it is also about beauty and our local environment. So how can we be connected to our family, to our friends, to the things we love and care about, and beautify it so it truly does welcome us and make us feel at home? Interesting that the 6 is a combination of the 1 and the 0, which represents divinity, the love and the freedom we're given by being connected to divinity, to the divine, to the aspects of heaven and earth. So the 6 allows us to amplify or activate the energy of being at home. So we get to decide what that looks like. So it is on us to build the foundation for the home we desire to live in, so we can relate to all the things we desire and want to experience in this life. So it's a very powerful time we're in. All right, so the number 2, I don't have an actual slide for the 2. I have what I'm calling here influences. Because we have all these 2s, this is huge. I cannot emphasize this enough. The power of the 2 when it's been triplified. We have 3 2s. How do you relate? Intuit. The 2 has something to do with our intuition. It's not only the supplication of what we desire to connect and be devoted to. It helps us to intuit what we're bringing forward and helps us to materialize or bridge the gap between what we desire and how we make it real. And that, of course, is about setting boundaries, letting go, all of those things, like what we really need to do in order to truly be in devotion, in awareness of our position between 2 opposites. So we can certainly blame others or imagine somebody else needs to do something for us, but it all comes from our own approach and what we are willing to put towards this thing we are connecting and growing, developing and realizing. So we have 2 manifesting numbers. We have the 2 and the 4. So that's really important because the emphasis is on manifesting. So many people think of manifesting as making money, which certainly is a part because that's proof that we are manifesting something. But we manifest all kinds of things. It's about our point of view, how we relate to others, what we feel as that we are deserving of. It's our brain working, our hearts working, our spirit working, our bodies working, and all of these things to manifest the energy. So with the 2, which helps us to make the connections and to improve our relationships with ourselves, with the source, with the earth, have better relationships with the people around us so we can actually move together, not because we are just giving up our beliefs, but because we are comfortable with expressing our beliefs and being in a container of the collective as individuals. So this is really important because if we're just giving in and being attentive to someone else's dream, then we might be ignoring our own needs. So sometimes we think about, and that's the shadow of the 2. I'm not getting attention, somebody else is taking up all the attention. And, we could certainly look at it that way. Or we can say, this person is paving the way for me to learn something new or give me an opening. They are warming up the room. I can get the attention I need by verbalizing what I need. So it's that shifting of energy to move more firmly into a place where you can create the home, the beauty, the environment, the foundation you need to keep going. So that's the 2 and the 4, which is the foundational pieces. How do I systemize this? How do I get better at it so it can be more efficient? And here looking out for the 8, which is the 3rd manifesting number. So on any day where there's an 8, in the calendar, you're going to have more support in supporting your manifesting or being able to see the bigger picture, being activated as a leader of your own life. All these numbers are speaking to that, to manifesting the life you desire, the experiences you want, without trying to pretend that or ignore or go, oh, this is too hard. I can't talk to this person, tell them what I need. I can't tell them how they make me feel. Then you're not being true to yourself. And I know we all go through that, and that's fine. You can love yourself through it, but you have to apply it in order to create that strong foundation to build more on it. So where the weak links are where you're going to have to improve. Those are the things to look at this year. The number 6 is an emotional number. It really connects us to love. This is a number that allows us to go, I belong here, I love it, I love the people in my life, I love my opportunities. So it is time to begin to build what you believe in, your home, the sacred space, the vessel of your embodiment. These are all even numbers, 2, 4, 6, so it's a rhythm, it's a dance, it's moving in wholeness to gather speed. So this is a foundational tipping point year, because if we do not apply the key energies of what we value through our actions, through our words, through what we see and allow, we will have to deal with the rotten foundation that we create. So this is individual and collective. 1011 is the last time we had 3 identical numbers in the year. So this is a rarity. So we really need to pay attention. Just like people say, when I see 111, 222, here we're seeing 3 2s. It is activating a triple value system, which indicates balance is needed to build something new, different, sustainable. And that's where we are as a collective, as individuals. You can probably feel the power surging through you, pushing you to activate new things. The zeros add divine alignment, so we know that the universe is working with us. The divine is working with us, giving us a helping hand, but we have to ask for it. We have to get clear about it. Just like when I was talking about building bricks, building a home, we really have to be clear about the foundation we're building in order to build a sustainable home. So what does that mean? Equilibrium is key to polarity, the breathing, just what I was talking about, how we find that place where we feel the balance. Now, it may not match with the person next to us, but it's not supposed to. This is the true alignment of the triple value system, is that we honor who we are and we honor what somebody else believes and has without trying to change them. So that's the power of the collective, that we move together knowing we are individuals. So we don't have to, we don't need our minds to be, brainwashed. We don't need to be brainwashed. We can make choices knowing if I have a need, I express it. Very powerful. Division doesn't dictate. We have certainly allowed it to dictate, but we have a choice. Difference exists as our guide, not our leader. So when we see difference, we get to decide, is this a difference that I need, that's creating issues in me that I need to work on? Or is this an opportunity to connect with somebody, change something, really step into my leadership? Denigrating somebody else's leadership or the way they do it, you can do those things, but it doesn't increase your leadership ability. Doesn't help you. Like going, oh, somebody else's house is terrible, their foundation is so weak, doesn't actually improve your foundation, right? So where do you need to focus? We must adopt the laws of beauty and belonging. The beauty I talked about, that we accept my life is beautiful. So, oh, there's a little crinkle here. How do I make this part more beautiful? How do I pay better attention? How do I listen and allow and receive the guidance, the wisdom, the activation of doing what is necessary to create this brilliant, beautiful foundation, this wonderful home that I am creating. So we can all live together in harmony, in that sense that we're not making other people live in the same house as us or believe the same things we believe, but we treat everything with reverence, not worship, which is very different. So all of this, being immersed in the human experience, is our birthright, and it activates our purpose. Okay, so besides the numbers, and there are obviously astrology influences, I don't have time to talk about that, but I will talk about two aspects of astrology that are really important. And one is, I'm actually going to stop share for a second. I wanted to talk about this because I don't have that on a slide, but just a brief touch on this because it's super important. One of the key aspects is Venus and Pluto in Capricorn. And as the year has opened, we're in a Venus retrograde. When the year closes, we'll be in a Mars retrograde. So that's the male, female, or, you know, what we consider male, female, whatever you want to do. The female aspect is really us being intuitive, receiving information, allowing, get really clear about what it is we want and how we need to be vocal about it in some sense. And then the masculine, which is the doing, right? So it's like the clearer we are, the clearer we ask the question, the easier it becomes to activate. So that's the aspect of what we call masculine, feminine. So it's the two variations of the continuum of being one, right? Because we all have both, we all intuit, we all take action. And the bell rang. That must be important. So Pluto and Venus, this is about power. It's about the idea of changing the narrative we have around power, because the old story has been, you know, the male or that dominant energy has stopped us and kind of made us cower and attacked us and made us weak. And yes, that was the narrative. But now we have the opportunity to shift the narrative as that more feminine aspect rises in equality to become more defined and definite. I'm not giving up my power. My intuition is important. My imagination, my softness, my embrace of beauty. It's essential in order to really activate a different kind of power. So this is about being empowered with our belief system about who we are, we deserve it, we belong here, and how we allow the other system that we have valued and put on a pedestal and repeated as if it is true, to control who we are. So we have this opening now to go, okay, the balance is being reset, the balance of power. I'm calling back my power, and I'm releasing any attraction or any attachment to being disempowered. And that again is the action we take. We choose to see those that come into our field in a certain way and how we act with them. So that's the change in power, the rising or the reassessing of the balance of power and how we are either giving away our power or taking it on. This is who I am. This is what I need to stay in that empowered place. I don't say it's easy. I'm not denying what has happened. It's just we're shifting into a different place. The other aspect of the astrology that's interesting is the Jupiter in Pisces. It was originally kind of the being of Pisces, and that's Neptune is there too. So this whole Pisces thing, which is expansive, Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So our opportunity to imagine and to drop into a place where we're actually letting go of being imprisoned by our mind, by our body, by our thoughts, by the energies around us, by fear, all of those things. We have this opportunity to swim away, to swim into deeper waters that are more sacred, more connected to our remembrance of who we are. And so very powerful is that aspect. So we are encouraged to be more imaginative, more intuitive, trusting of our dreams, leaping into bigger, more daring things, remembering the things we desire to bring about. And the shadow of that is madness, right? Of feeling like we're trapped and we have to stay in this place because it's not safe. Like choosing the home we have, even though it doesn't feel good, it feels constricted, imprisoning, against knowing we are free. So all of this is about the similar types of things, energies that we have to just breathe into. Because there's so much we have to let go of. And all of this is in support of what we can allow in. Because this is about allowance. What is the allowance that we have? What is the relationship we have to power, to money, to our deservingness, to how beautiful we can make our home, to whether we're imprisoned or empowered? So now I'm going to move on to the key letters of the year 2022, because that is giving us a sense of what this is about. To be brave, focused, to have a vision. This is so important, especially when we think about coming home, belonging, that we do belong. And so in order to reinforce or build the foundation, we remember we are brave, we are fierce, we are focused, we are visionaries. We're given the freedom from illusion and false worship, and that's to do with what I just talked about, the influences of astrology, the Pluto and Venus story, that is the Adam and Eve, or all those different stories about a woman being disempowered through the actions of a man and taking back our power. Again, I'm not saying those things don't exist. I'm saying we have to start to look at things very differently in order to shift our focus and vision and direction to build something very different. We are called to intimacy with boundaries and our bodies. So this speaks to empowerment. We are empowered. We increase intimacy. We feel safer when we understand how to create boundaries, not barriers, boundaries, and to be in that home in our bodies. This is my body. I claim this. This is my vision. These are the things I claim. These are the things I beautify. These are the things I'm brave and focused and visionary about. We are shifting the invisible or the unspoken into value, real value, the thing we're claiming, the thing that we want to live with. Not the things we think we're supposed to, but the things that are true to us, to our soul, to our hearts. What do we accept? What we will stand up for? Because we are laying the groundwork for a new kind of manifesting. Things are changing and we have to change with it. We have the capacity and we're being supported to do this. It's amazing when you think about it. Absolutely astonishing. We have the opportunity to dissolve any normalizing of victimizing or othering in ourselves or others, which is blaming, shaming, looking at others and saying they can do it, I can't. So we can be in situations where we feel victimized, but we have to choose how maybe we use that to get to the doorway, to the gateway. But once we get there, we're going to have to change tactics in order not to slip back to where we've been. So let's look at the letters that are part of this. The letter B, that's the number 2. I talked a lot about the number 2. I'm sure I'll talk more about it. So, talking about the letter B brings us to words that start with the letter B. Words like being, beauty, breakthroughs, balance, body, belief. Those are all things I've been talking about. Being bold, being blessed or blessing others, seeing the beauty, breathtaking, remembering our boundaries, building, being brave, creating bridges to where we want to go, letting go of the ones, the crumbling ones, or the ones that we have tracked over and over again that have enslaved us. Our brains, changing the way we think and respond. Is what we think true? Or can we use our brains more efficiently and elegantly to create those breakthroughs? I know we can, so here's our opportunity. The letter B, two closed arches, representing the home or windows, doors, a bridge. It's taking us to life, the life we can live when we know we are home. We belong here and we deserve that safety, that home, that beauty, so that we can keep going. So not just keep going, but that we are emitting the energy of who we are. The letter D, that's the number 4. All of those words that start with a D that help us to build what we desire. So this is desire, the divinity, the divine, the devotion. To dance, be a disciple, which is about the discipline. What are we a disciple of? What are we putting our attention on? To bringing our destiny into being. And that can include things like dreams, divining, being determined. The dark. We don't need to be afraid of the dark. We need to find our resonance in the dark so we can find that equilibrium between the light and the dark. Develop, deliberate, discern, having dignities, diplomacy, directness. What's our destination? We declare, decide, do. And then we have the opportunity to move away from dictating things, dissolving what doesn't work for us. We can dare to be true to who we are. This is a very powerful time when we devote ourselves to what we value. And this is what the letter D is reminding us of. It's a 1/2 circle and a line, solid and defined, like our bodies, how we want our bodies to be connected and at home with divinity and with the earth. The letter 22 is a V. So powerful, the V, that we hold our arms up in that sense of being victorious, but also to receive the energy, the information from above. As we stand, or as the V is, very connected to the ground, like the 2, that solid base, open-hearted, receiving, connected to our vision, to Venus. I mentioned Venus, to our values. We're victorious, we're visible in this vast world, connecting to the visceral, the verdant. We are vigilant of what we value. As we open our hearts to truly understand and connect to the power of the 22, we are enveloped, we are loved up by the universe, by the earth, we are supported, we are held, and it becomes easier to follow the path, to create that foundation that we are building, the integrity of what is our truth. So we look to the ancient wisdom. Now that we know the energy of the numbers and the letters, we look to ancient wisdom to guide us. What is it that the ancients knew that we can bring into the present, into balance, the modern balance, because we live in a time where there's so much going on. So many things are flowing past us and grabbing our attention. How do we find that balance? How do we get still with all the noise? How do we create that simplicity? By focusing on purity, being pure in what we are calling in integrity. That's purity. Integrity is not what somebody else is doing. Integrity is how a table stands. You have 4 legs. That's integrity, balance, harmony. When we are pure in our approach, pure of heart, clearing our minds from all the debris and the nonsense and the fear so that we can truly resonate with our beingness. That's how we bring peace into our lives. And we stop overcompensating. That is, we stop people pleasing or making up stories for ourselves and others, because we don't need those stories. We just need to come back to the purity of our expression. I'm doing this. If it's for you, yes, go, do it. You don't have to stop yourself because someone else is questioning your value, your purity. And to create peace, we do that by connecting with others. How do we connect with our dreams, with others, with what we believe in? We are willing to be bold enough to be true and be willing to have the discussions that are needed to allow us to find that balance. Then we can release all of those stories and all of those things that stop us from moving forward or stop us from coming home to ourselves, feeling safe. We are at peace because we're living with the value of purity. So peace is not static. Peace is a dance of engagement, which is formed through deliberate choice and movement. This is really important to understand because so many people think, oh, I just want peace. And they think peace means just going along with what other people do. Let's just all keep quiet and go with the loudest voices or the, what do we call that? When you're in a group and most of the group want to do X and some of you want to do Y, and you just go along. That's not peace. That's being disempowered. So how do you express your needs and say, I'm willing to go forward with this, but I am drawing a line in the sand about that, right? Doesn't stop us from moving forward. It doesn't stop us from connecting and collaborating. But it really helps us feel safe when we advocate for what we need, when we speak out what we are disturbed about or are unsure about, when we're willing to be foolish and go, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. And I understand that sometimes we have to limp along till we get to the next place, and that's okay as long as we're aware that's what we're doing. We are doing something to get to the next level, even though when we arrive at that doorway, there are adjustments that need to happen because we learn by doing. We don't learn by thinking about stuff. We learn by taking action. And people often say, just do, doing is good enough, or it's good enough if you just take action. And that's so true because that's what helps you to get better at bricklaying, basically, right? If we're laying bricks for the foundation, we're laying the concrete, we're digging the earth to let those pylons go down, we get better through practice. Doesn't matter how many YouTube videos we watch, We will never find peace or build strong foundation by just looking at what other people do. We actually have to do it ourselves. We have to speak out. We have to say, hold on a minute, this isn't okay. I don't like what's happening. We have to use our voices. This is such a key part of all of this. The embodiment is our voice, our heart, listening to what our body is telling us, acting on these things. So here we have the Soul Portal 22 from the Illuminating Journey cards, and I wanted to share this because I think it really does illustrate so much of what I've been talking about. This idea that we want to reach a certain nirvana, spiritual kind of energy, that feeling of freedom, we say, is that feeling of being expanded in our spirit. So we have to go under the bridge. We have to cross over to the side that supports us, to us. What is our truth? We have to connect to the divine. We have to drop into the earth. We have to be present. And when we're present, we choose the path that's going to take us where we want to go, knowing we don't get to the top without walking, and we will feel that journey. We must participate in our journey to peace, to change, to a deliberate way of being, to coming home. So I'm also going to share a little bit about some other influences, because of course we have the Chinese year that influences all divination, as this is a year of deep divination and spirituality, as I have mentioned. Something to really think about. So if you're drawn to being quiet when you might have been somebody who was very social, it makes sense, because we're all in change, right? We're all being aligned to our mission and purpose, to being or contributing the part of the foundation of this new way that is ours to do. So we might find ourselves doing things very differently, and that's beautiful, because that's the choice of the two. That's the expansion of being in that V, of opening us to that place where we're asking for guidance and we're willing to risk all to be guided, to take new steps, to find a new path. So the year of the water tiger. So this is really important, because water is about emotion, and it connects to the Neptunian aspect of Jupiter being in Pisces, the final sign, the energy of immersion in your dreams, in your emotions, the feelings that will come up and show you, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. Or, oh, I feel so connected and drawn to this. My soul longing, my desire to make my life this, to bring these things in, the creativity, the things I have desire to connect to. Very enthusiastic, independent. There's a lot of generosity, and that's also part of the Jupiter aspect. The openness, the expansion of being, the social focus, and of course this is key, because our social focus is connected to our values. Are we living the values we say we care about? Because that's part of coming home, right? That's part of feeling safe. So it's yang energy, which is again very interesting, because I've been talking about the being, but it's also the doing. So we have the imagination. We want to leap into these ideas that, oh, these ways of building this new foundation. So we do have to take action on our dreams. We can't just think about them. This is the time of cementing those bricks, of truly putting the concrete in the foundation. This is a lot of things we have to do. Discipline, devotion to our cause, to the things that have meaning, to coming home, to building our home, is all part of this. So following your intuition into your wildest dreams with those wild leaps of faith. I got wild twice. It must be, it's that finally I feel so safe. I feel so connected. I can dive into what has meaning to me. Faith, such a big word for this year because we have the letter F. So faith, devotion is all connecting us to what's true. Then we have the same, the emotional, family-oriented, interpersonal relationships. That's all part of the 2, the 6. That's all. Yes, I want to feel at home with my people, with my community, with myself. So developing how you communicate with people so that everyone feels connected and safe and loved, so they can blossom, right? That's another B word. We want to blossom. So it's grounding genuine values, building teams, or getting back to creative projects, all part of coming home. Who am I? What do I want to express? How am I expressing it? Lots of people have this question on their minds in a water tiger year, and that is what's best for everyone. The tiger aspect, which is developing those new foundations. And here, discernment is required because, tigers are kind of loners. They're independent. Their egos can get really big. We can get very caught up. Remember, I was talking about the Neptunian Jupiter influence in Pisces. We can get very caught up in the illusion of our dreams and imagine, we get very enthusiastic. Oh, this is the best. Everyone needs to do this. And that's the place where we have to remember the 2. Step back and go, wait, everyone doesn't need this necessarily. I need it. But maybe I need to listen to what somebody else wants. So, we're all building houses in our compound. Our houses don't need to look identical. We don't need to behave the same way in order to live together. What we do need to have is the boundaries and the balance around how we communicate with each other. So diplomacy, not dogma, is key here. And there's my favorite saying that I created, which is be a diplomat, not a doormat. Diplomacy doesn't mean you're trying to trick someone. It doesn't mean you're trying to pretend you're doing something and you're not going to. Diplomacy in its truest form means that you are willing to not be in someone's face because you're enthusiastic about being you or developing an idea. Enthusiasm is fantastic, but you do want to let the other people in your family, in your environment know, like, I'm interested in supporting you, maybe not doing something for you, but I do want you to be able to live your dreams, create your home as well. So what does that look like? Also looking to the tarot is very interesting how all of these divination tools cross each other. So there are 22 major arcana cards. However, there is no 22 card number. So that's kind of a conundrum and something that gives us more information, because 22, it could be considered the world number, which was number 21, which was the endings, it's a conclusion. Really what the world is when there's a balance of a shift in the balance of power. So that's to do with what I've talked about, that Venus and Pluto energies, all of that, when we're bringing in imagination, we're opening our hearts, we have to remember how we're doing that, how we're connecting the intuition with the action, not just with ourselves, but in the bigger picture. So we know that there's a balance shift, a shift in the balance of power, and that's been happening and we can see it around us. So that's to be aware, like when there's a shift in a balance of power, we have the opportunity to choose something different, right? Because everything's open. And the 22 can be considered the Fool, which is the first card, or the 0. So 21, as I mentioned, is about endings, revolution of status, and then the Fool is about the freedom of not having limits. It brings us back to the energy of purity. So some people see the Fool as, oh, you're just so blithe, you don't look where you're going. And that's where we need to discern. Is it worth me going in this direction, making a fool of myself? And the answer is often yes, it is worth making a fool of yourself if it's something that connects you more to you, expresses you, brings you closer to be feeling at home. So much of our energies in the past have been about being in fear of being the fool. When the fool is the one that brings in the fun, the sense of play, the openness to trying something we haven't, to truly taking a path untraveled. To create a new foundation, we do need to travel an untraveled path. And that's the opportunity we have here. I feel, so much emotion when I think about that. Like the idea that we can truly just lay down our weapons, stop battling, and just shift to that place where we can be in total joy about what's possible and go, okay, I'm picking up my tools, like gardening, or my tools to build, and I'm going to start to play with this idea until I get the drawing right. Remember what I talked about, the 22, the designing of our world, what we want it to look like in order to garner peace, to create that environment where peace can exist. So that's what's available here for us. It really is the opportunity, as I spoke about, the spiritual immersion of our truth allows us to be foolish, and foolish with joy, because we are testing out what is possible. We're sinking into being at home. Hey, if we're at home, why can't we experiment and try different things and feel the joy of what being at home in a place we love feels like? And if we don't love it, how can we make it feel more beautiful, more desirable, more a place of warmth? So we often talk about the passage of 0 to 21. But we hardly ever address the journey between 21 and 0. That's the dark side, the silent side, the part that's ignored but is essential. When we immerse ourselves in that spirituality, in that truth, allowing ourselves to connect to what it is that we want to create foundations to. What system are we creating? What are we giving our devotion to? Not just for this year, but for the years to come. What are we willing to be absorbed by? What do we really value? Coming back to that idea of peace, that we say, yes, I value peace, so I'm going to be quiet, but that's not honoring our values, because that's not peaceful. It creates all that energy inside of us. When we're afraid to be foolish, then we might not show up as we are, because remember, we have to practice. The only way we're going to get there is by doing it. Finding peace, traveling under the bridge, taking those pathways that may not be well traveled. We could lose our way. But when we're focused on where we're going, when we remember that this is about truly honoring our values and bringing them into alignment with how we live, putting the value into the bricks and mortar, living what we believe in. And now we have this opportunity to enter the nothingness, the divinity of the pool of nothingness, so we can remember who we are and bring those little pieces, even though it's not whole yet, into being. So we're laying the foundation of being whole. The hunger we feel inside of us to live our soul urges can be filled with us being willing to be that foolish, wild, imaginative being that is also willing to see that there are other people who are wild and imaginative, and together we can take this amazing adventure. Together we can lay the foundations. The purity of belonging to no thing, because we are free. That's the essence. That's the thing we have to remember. And actually, if nothing else from this, I hope you remember that. This is what is available to you. And so, in conclusion, how will you love when you belong? What does it feel like to be so loved that you belong? You're breathing, you're being, you're acting from that place, and you are growing that foundation. This is the Soul Portal number 6 from the Illuminating Journey cards that I created with the guidance of the Akashic Records. And this card speaks to the energy of this year too. It speaks to the collaboration between differences. The absolute love that happens when we embrace all of who we are and all of those around us. That doesn't mean we have to put up with things. It means we understand that there are different ways to do things, and yet there's so much we can do together when we connect the dots through love. All right, that's the presentation from me. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have questions, I'd love to hear them.